Welcome into the Land of Tangwall show. Today, we're going to be diving into the film of the Indiana offensive tackles versus the Miami defensive ends. I think this is where the game could be decided. So we're going to go through just how these guys are studying each other as we sit here today. That's the type of studying I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you every little aspect of these Indiana offensive tackles' pass protection, their hands, their feet. Same thing with the Miami defensive ends. How are they so successful? Where are some weak points? We're going to get into all of that today. And then tomorrow, we're going to be studying the Indiana front seven and show you why they are so good up front with those blitzes, those stunts, filling gaps, all of it. You don't want to miss any of it. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. We don't do paywalls, no paywall, just Tangwall. We're going to take care of you and give you all the information you need to know for this game. Without further ado, let's roll the tape. All right, we are going to start out with Bane and Mesidor's favorite move. They both work it on this rush. It is the double hand swipe. So first, let's talk about Ruben Bane. So the thing that makes this guy so good is look at his body position. So he's going to get off vertical. You see how he is working directly upfield, but you notice you can't see the four because his torso is directly pointed at the offensive tackle. So we're going vertical, but we're threatening the tackle with our torso. And what that does is, me being a former offensive tackle, it's like, okay, I think the action's going to come right now. And then he changes this to go, boom, now I'm working back vertical. And just that messes with the tackle's rhythm right there. Now he's going to get into this, and now he's going to see the offensive tackle start to throw these hands out. And that's a trigger in Bane's head right here. As soon as I see these hands start to come out, I'm going double hand swipe them both down, and then put this foot in the ground, and he tries to bend it back as sharp as he can to get back to the quarterback. Now, you get a running back come, help pick him up. You're going to have to do some of that if you are this Indiana team. Now, let's talk about Mesidor on the opposite side, working the same move, and this is something you're going to see a ton out of Mesidor. He's going to get into kind of like this Euro step, so he hops off that right leg, he's going to plant off of this left leg. So the idea is I'm trying to threaten at the tackle. So it's similar to what Bane is doing. It's just a different version by threatening at the tackle and then jumping back outside. And you see how smooth those hands are. Now, Pounds, the left tackle here, throws independent hands. We're going to talk about independent hands in this video. And so Mesidor swipes that down. So does a good job, you see, getting that hand off with the double hand swipe. But then he's able to come back, and the offensive tackle is able to kind of refit into this. But that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a double hand swipe into a rip move. So we're going to go double hand swipe, and now I feel like I'm starting to get that edge. So Mesidor is going to get into a rip and try to do the same thing that Bane was doing over here, bend around that corner. All right, next rep. Here we go, Ruben Bane. Just watch it once. It's some of the smoothest hands you will see. I promise you that. Running back gets destroyed here by Motore. But what Bane wants to do is he's waiting until he gets just about even with you, and then he's going to wait till he sees your hands. And now you see, once again, Pounds is showing those hands. Looks like he's about to punch, and I'm staring right at those hands. I'm waiting, and then boom, I'm just tossing them. This is how you live in the double hand swipe, boom. And then, like I said, he's going to try to turn this into kind of a rip. He's always going to plant this leg, has really good bend around the edge, and then get back vertical. Might get held a little bit there. But Chambliss is able to get the ball off. Linebacker coming free. Great rep. All right, going out here against Ohio State offensive tackle Austin Siereveld. Let's see it. Same exact thing. My God, it doesn't get much better than this. All right. So we're getting vertical off the football, and now he starts to attack into him. And this is the problem with these wide nine techniques. It is hard to cover up these defensive ends. Same exact thing. He plants this foot. He's waiting. Guess what? He sees these hands about to get fired. That's when he jumps away from it. So he's kind of getting away from this punch. And as he's jumping away and out and up, he double hand swipes. He's going to catch both hands perfectly. Tosses them to the side. You see that? That is not a position. Look, he's waving to the sideline. Hi, Mom, I'm playing football. Ruben Bane just whooped my butt. And you're getting to the quarterback and saying, I better get this football out right now. All right, and then let's talk Mesidor right here against Texas A&M's right tackle. And he's just going to get upfield. Once again, the double hand swipe, why it works so well, it's just so smooth. And then this is a piece of what you get when you're in these wide nine techniques. That means you're super far out. You're forcing these tackles to just have to get to their spot. And, I mean, look, you're 300 plus pounds, and you got to go backwards blocking this. So what you see is Mesidor gets even with the offensive tackle, and what does he see? He identifies a hand that's about to get fired. So what does he do? Just two hands. It's super quick. He actually controls both hands, swipes them both down, and then I told you he goes double hand swipe into a rip move, because the rip allows him to kind of lean into the tackle, and that allows him to bend even harder on a line to get back to Marcel Reed here, and is really disruptive and allows Bain actually to finish off this sack. All right, now let's talk about these Indiana offensive tackles. How do they stop the double hand swipe? And also kind of what is their fastball? I just showed you Miami's defensive end's fastball, their go-to move. Let's talk about Carter Smith first. Now, Carter Smith is really, really good with his hands. So he's working out here against Tatum Tuioti. I want you to notice these independent hands. You see how he is far away too. And Carter Smith comes with this independent inside hand strike. Boom. He lands that inside hand first. You see how he's on that inside shoulder right there. I really like how he uses his independent hands. So he's going to throw that inside hand first, and then he's going to take this left hand, and it's almost going to be like a left hook. It's going to hook around. It's not going to be a punch straight at him. It's going to be a hook. Boom. You see how he hooks it around and kind of gets up under this shoulder pad and tries to lift it up. That's what he's going to do a lot. And the reason why this works is, like I said, you see how he's lifting that shoulder pad up. And look, some people are going to say this is holding. It is sometimes, not in this rep. We're going to get to that in a second. But the reason why this works is because he's using these independent hands. So let's say Bain or Mesidor come with this double hand swipe. You're going to, maybe you'll hit this inside hand. Maybe you'll hit that down. So this gets swiped down. But then here we go. Smith is going to bring this outside hook and hit you right under the shoulder and try to kind of lift you up with it. So this is something I've seen a lot out of Carter Smith on his tape. He loves to use those independent hands with kind of that left hook. All right, here we go. Carter Smith going against Mateo Uiagalelei here, and you're going to get the same thing. You're going to get these independent hands, get a nice little hop technique, and Mendoza, by the way, we're going to talk about it on the pregame show, but he's going to scoot out of there sometimes. All right, so right here, he's starting to line up Mateo Uiagalelei, and you're going to see him do the same thing. He's going to come with this right hand strike first. Now, something to be on the lookout for is for Bain and Mesidor to try to work some inside moves when he throws this right hand strike, because you see when he throws it, you see how he kind of turns out as he throws it. You see his body is he's pretty square, and then as he throws that right hand, he kind of jumps out, and you start to see less of that 65. He's got to be careful with that, but still, I love the independent hand inside strike. And then we're coming with the left hook again, hooking that, look at that, right up under the shoulder pad. And he is now, like, he gets walked back a little bit, but he's going to work a nice hop technique. And now you see he's got great posture. And once again, hop, that's a power angle right there. You're taking the defensive lineman and redirecting him up. Now, once again, here you go. He's getting up in the shoulder pads. And it's okay right now. That's not going to get called holding. But at times, Carter Smith can get a little too far outside. So let's talk about it right here. He is going against this Alabama looping defensive tackle. And you're going to get a holding call right here because Mendoza decides to roll out of the pocket. See, there comes the flag coming out. So this is one thing I do want to be mindful of. It works against like the double hand swipe. So let's say Bain is working the double hand swipe. Once again, he might get that inside arm, but look where this left hand is. You're not going to get it because it's so much of an outside hook. Now, the negative about this outside hook, it's almost impossible to swipe it down, but you get outside that shoulder pad, and you see that's where he's been gripping everybody up. And it's generally fine if you're in position. Like, he's fine, but because he's outside the shoulder pad, the refs see that right there, and because he doesn't know that Mendoza's going to roll out, the refs see that, that's going to be a flag every single time. There it comes, and you are going back 10 yards. So that's something that he's got to be careful of. Now, let's talk a little bit of Benson right here. And this is one thing when you're going against this double hand swipe. Here's where Benson can be good. We're going to talk about where he can be good, where he can be bad. We're going to do that for everybody. But watch how aggressive he is with his punch. So Mateo, very similar to the double hand swipe. He's going to kind of work a jump like club rip. But what Benson does is he just puts two hands in, and watch this move right here. A lot of guys will kind of just leak out of this. Watch him just toss him upfield. That throw, that knocks him off that path. So Mateo thinks, all right, I'm trying to bend right around right here, but Benson just tosses him upfield. Sometimes the greatest counter for these hand swipes is just an aggressive punch, where even if you're getting beat a little bit, just toss him and boom, we're working him upfield. All right, now let's talk about, like I said, might get some Ajani out here at right tackle. I think he's got a smoother set than Benson. See how he gets out. It's a lot smoother, but kind of similar. So you get, once again, you get a very similar thing to the double hand swipe. It's kind of just a one swipe down, and you're trying to jump, but he gets both of Ajani's hands down, swipes them down, and starts to bend that edge. But here's the same thing I like with Ajani, that he's able to kind of run this upfield, push him up. But once again, you're going to get a lot better bend out of Bane and Mesidor, so you got to be careful. And then here we go. Let's talk about some other offensive tackles that went against Bane and Mesidor and how they stopped the double hand swipe. So right over here, once again, we're looking at Bane and we're looking at Sareveld. And so what you're going to notice here is that Bane gets to the point where I think this is where I think he's going to throw his hands. So you see Bane start to work the double hand swipe, except Sareveld looks very similar here to Carter Smith, where he's actually going to punch with these kind of hook punches, and he's able to completely just kind of eat up Bane right here. And Bane's just in his chest, and Bane doesn't really have a counter move because he didn't give him that initial, just that normal punch where you just right here, where he just throws both hands. He's almost giving him a bait where he's like, hey, go ahead. He sees, and like again, like I said, that's a trigger right there. That's a trigger, and you see Bane's hands start to move as he sees this because he thinks the punch is coming, except it's not. I'm going to pull them back. I'm going to go with a double hook and kind of just hook him in here, and those hands can't touch the hook move. So great rep right there. Now one more time over here against Bane. Here we go, Daniels. I really love these independent hands here. So Bane working upfield. You're going to get the same thing where Bane feels like, okay, I'm about to see this hand right here. So he starts his swipe move, and I love this. We're working independent hands. So the right tackle here, you see he keeps his right arm locked and loaded, but he fires this left hand. So he's into him, and then we're going to bring the right hand. Boom. Now you got both hands in. So once again, this is what you're going to get. They are never going to stop rushing the passer. Just going to, you already got your hands in, and well, I'm going to swipe them again. I'm going to continue to work a rip move. It's going to be a battle all day long. But this is the biggest thing I'm looking at for these Indiana offensive tackles. How can you use these independent hands? Because that's the best way to do it. One, and then brings two, and that's how you defeat the double hand swipe. All right, in these next series of plays, we're going to talk about how these Miami defensive end find their wins because they threaten these tackles and they give up too much ground. So you're going to see what I mean by this. They are giving too much. They are retreating. So Bane's out here, this wide nine. He's always going to explode like this, like just out of a track stance. It's scary to go against. And what you're going to see, instead of just taking the fight to Bane, he kind of starts to retreat. Watch this offensive tackle. He's going to start to drop this back leg. He's going to open up, and by the time Bane is about to work this move on him, he is already square to the sideline. Like, you want to be square to the line of scrimmage. You want to look more like the left tackle looks here. His hips straight to the sideline, his hips more to the line of scrimmage. So he just retreats way too much on Bane, and that gives Bane so much room to work with, build up speed, and then just get into his chest. And we're just going to work a bull rush back into the quarterback, kind of toss you to the side, and almost get to Chambliss right here. So this is something you got to be careful of. When I get to right here, I want to take the fight to him, not start to concede, fall back, and drop this leg, because I'm giving him a really soft edge to bend around if I do that. Now, next play, here we go. Let's talk Mesidor. Very similar thing, and this is something you're going to get when they're in these wide nines. It is not easy to go against, guys, let me tell you. So here we go. Offensive tackle. All right, we're in a really good position here. I would love to kind of stay where you're at, maybe one more kick, but because there's so much space and time because of the wide nine, watch the tackle start to kind of fade back and drop this back leg. Fade back, and by the time they're touching right here, look at the angle that this defensive end, Mesidor, has. Like, you have completely dropped your back leg, and I have such an easy path to the quarterback, and I didn't even touch you yet. This is just threatening with speed and just my power. Now, here's the one thing that you're going to get. You are going to get counter moves. So you're trying to rush upfield. You're going to get him to open up, and I feel he is completely opened up. So what does he do? He places this right hand up under the tackle's shoulder pad, and tosses him upfield, because you got to think the tackle's weight and his momentum is going this way. So Mesidor says, I'm just going to throw you where you already want to go. Upfield, just completely chucks him out of the way, and I'm getting on a straight line to the quarterback. So, I mean, these are the rushes, and this is what's so hard about these defensive ends of covering them up, is they have all this speed. They're going to threaten you. You're going to start to open up, and then they're just going to work a counter move where it's power back inside. So you got to worry about really, really good bend around the edge, and you got to worry about them working a power move, getting on your inside half, and then boom, getting back vertical to the quarterback. All right, here we go. We're going against Ole Miss here. Bain. This is what happens, though, when you really start to retreat way too much. So Pounds, we were talking about him earlier. He does a good job at times. Look at how he has to get out. He's flying off this foot because here we go. Wide 9 technique. So gets out. We're in a pretty good place right here, right? This is good. We're good. Watch him now. We're going to drop this back foot. Before we even touch Bain, we're going to start to drop this back foot, and we're going to start to retreat backwards. You see that? Once again, hips completely square to the sideline. This is not where you want to be. And guess what? Here comes the double hand swipe. Fwa, get them both down. Double hand swipe into a rip move. I promise you, you are going to see it. I've seen it all week on tape. And then you're going to have to even hold him a little bit. But thankfully, you got Big Ten refs back here that don't call holding. And Ole Miss actually scores a touchdown here. But this is what I mean. You cannot retreat. Right here, stop, and let's take the party to him. Not turn, retreat more, drop this back leg, and give a soft edge to the defensive end. All right, last play right here. You don't even see Bain on the screen. This is how wide these guys get. You don't even see him lining up. So let's talk about it. So he gets out here, and we're just looking at the tackles and how they're reacting to this. Watch Daniels just get out. So gets out, jumps. I mean, look where he's at. Like, talk about dropping your back foot and just conceding the angle to the defensive end. You can't do this. You have to put pause on them and stop their momentum, because you're going to get a really good bend. And Bain does a great job of stabbing this foot through and forcing his way in with the rip of his right arm. And he's just going to press through. You see that? He rips that right arm all the way up. Very animated and has fantastic bend to get on an angle back to the quarterback. Almost gets him, falls down a little bit, but causes a sack almost, and you get a flag. It's incredibly disruptive. All right, so we talked about how Bain and Mesidor look against these retreating tackles that they've already faced. Let's look at these Indiana tackles and how they go against these wide 9 techniques. This is what Carter Smith's going to see. So first thing that I don't love, and this is something that you have to do because of the formation that Alabama's in, and you're going to see this from Miami where you got guys pressed up on the line of scrimmage. He has to get straight vertical. He can't go attack this. He has to get straight back in case things are looping over top, guys are moving around. So that's why you kind of see him going straight back. Now he's pitter-pattering his feet. Now he says, okay, I fully have this guy. Now here's the problem that I don't love from Carter Smith. He's able to anchor very well enough against this Alabama defensive end. You get a touchdown up top. But he's going back, he's retreating, and doesn't open up as much as these other tackles that we've seen. But he's going to lean a little too much. So if you watch this right here, watch his head go down. You see that? Head go down, butt kind of comes out. This isn't a position you want to be in because it's not a stable one. You know how you saw Mesidor kind of toss those guys to the side? You need to be in better position and in better bend because it's just you don't want to get caught in that type of position. So be careful if you are Carter Smith kind of reaching outside and ducking that head down, because they will work that counter move and try to throw you to the side. All right, now let's talk Benson out here going against Nasir Wyatt for Oregon. And this is kind of their one elite pass rusher that has a ton of speed. And you're going to see what I mean. Allows a sack here, but there's way too much retreat from Benson on this one. And Mendoza's like running around. Like, I think Mendoza thought he couldn't throw it again. I think that's what it was. But you watch this here. So Benson starts out in a good set. I like this. Now this is where he starts to retreat and give too much ground to the defensive end. He's going to do the same thing where he starts to kind of fall back, and he's going to drop this right leg and give a really nice path to Wyatt. So boom, right there. We still haven't even touched, and this right leg, and once again, hips are parallel to the sideline. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you already know by this point in the video, you don't want your hips parallel to the sideline. So Wyatt doesn't even really work a move. Like, that's the thing. You're going to go against defensive ends that work way better moves than Nasir Wyatt. This is like a true freshman out at Oregon. Doesn't even work a move. He tries to do that punch that we talked about earlier, but he's in such bad position that even when he does punch him and try to throw him upfield, he's able to just put his foot back in the ground and bend it back on a straight line to Mendoza and gets that strip sack there. So listen, Benson's going to have to be better in this one. He's going to have to move, and that's why you might see some more Ajani, because he can just move better. But this type of movement versus these wider 9 techniques, that's going to be a struggle out here for Benson when he's facing Bane and Mesidor. All right, so you're probably asking, Landon, so retreating doesn't work. How do you beat these guys? This is the best way I found. You have to mess with the pass rusher's rhythm. So we're looking out here, Austin Saraveld against Akeem Mesidor. And what you're going to see is you're going to see a jump set here by Saraveld. You have to throw them off because they are used to you just going straight back, and they get to meet you right here and work their little double hand swipe and get around the edge. Guess what? You need to shock them. So we're going to go one kick, and then he's going to plant this left foot in the ground and just attack Mesidor. And he's not expecting it. Boom! Gets on top of him and is able to just ride him out and completely clamp him up. So we call this a jump set. It's one kick, and now we're basically in a turn, and it's almost a run block now. Just boom, get on top of him, and now you do have to be careful. You got to start to kind of ride this out a little bit. You don't want him to beat you after that jump set. But I mean, this is textbook stuff right here from Austin Saraveld on how to work a jump set. Now, let's talk about this too. Ole Miss right tackle. He really figured this out towards like the end of the game. Now, don't get me wrong; they were still working him at times, most of the time. But he started to figure this out. He's right here. Bane is pretty wide, and watch him just take one kick. He creates a lot of width here, and now I'm just putting hands on. Boom, right on top of him. And look, just kind of heaves Bane up. Anytime that I see Bane and Mesidor really lose, it's these jump sets. And let's just talk about this real quick. You see his first set is going to be sideways and then sideways again and punch at him. So the problem with the retreating was when you go straight back, you let them build up a head of steam where they're able to work all the way around and they can have any move they want, power, double hand swipe, whatever it is. But when you work side and then side, look what you're doing. Look where he starts. So he's starting basically right on the V right here of the verbo. When he punches Bane, watch where he's at. 1, 2. So his body went from being basically right here to being out here. So what has that done? That has created this much width for the rusher. So you see how much more space Bane has to work around instead of just being right here and going straight back and meeting right here. Now we're meeting all the way out here. So he's taking the width out of the rusher, being physical with his hands, heaming him up, and you get the pass off really nicely. So these jump sets, this is where I've seen the most success for any offensive tackle. And look, it's not always going to be pretty. Once again, you can only slow these guys down. You cannot fully stop them. That's why they're the best defensive line. He's not even going to take a kick set here. It's not like going to be one kick and then attack. Watch him just jump out, just attack, just boom. And like Bane's not ready for that. No defensive end is ready for that. Now this is where you got to be careful because you got to leap bend. You're going to bend around the edge and get back, but the ball comes out pretty quick because you have some interior pressure. But this is what you need to do. You have to throw off their rhythm. And like I said, what I mean by that is he's not expecting this. He is expecting this tackle to get back, and instead it's at him. And then look, it's scary. As a former offensive tackle, it's scary to do this because you can get beat really quickly, but it's a must against these defensive ends. You have to change up your set. All right, now let's go to Indiana, and I found some jump sets from their offensive tackles. So here we go. Carter Smith working out here against that is Tatum Tuioti. And we're going to get the same thing. We're going to get this inside hand strike and does a really good job clamping this up. So let's slow it down. So right here, kind of not as much of a jump set as we've seen. So I'm curious if he'll be more aggressive, but he's going to set out, and here we go. Like he loves, the inside hand strike is coming first. Boom. And then here he comes again with this hook for the left arm. So if I'm the Miami defensive ends, I'm studying that. I know he's going to throw this inside hand strike, but that's a great way to jump them. Now, Tatum does actually get under this, and this inside hand strike actually falls over top of his shoulder pad. But you see that? That's why Carter Smith is good. He might not have the greatest technique or movement, but he's out of position. He's basically hugging the guy's neck, and watch him take this right arm and refit it, boom, back underneath of Tuiotti's pec, and now I'm just locking him out. So great job there. But like I said, this is something to be aware of, especially if you're going to get jump set, is boom, that inside hand strike is coming first. And we talked about this. When he throws that inside hand strike, he opens up. You see that? So, I mean, be ready for the counter move back inside from Bane and Mesidor, especially against Smith. All right, next one. Let's talk about it. And it's similar things. Like I said, you watch a guy long enough, guys, and we've put these cut-ups together, you're going to get the same move. So Carter Smith, guess what? Not as much of a jump set, but trying to kind of take it to him after gaining some depth. And from really far away, it seems like he's got long arms. Guess what? We're getting an inside strike. Boom. Independent hand, inside strike. He throws that thing. This rusher's not ready for it, so he blunts him with that near independent hand. And then, yep, you guessed it, the hook with the left hand up under the shoulder pad, and we're just going to bounce back, plant our feet in the ground, hop technique, and we're clamping this thing up. So that's stuff you'll see from Carter Smith on the edge pretty frequently. One more time. It's the same thing. Like I said, players are prone to do the same thing. You're going to see the double hand swipe from the defensive ends, and you are going to see Carter Smith get out in a set and boom, throw that inside hand, and then he's waiting, hook it around. You see it right there, but this is where you got to be careful on the jump set. So let's watch it one more time. It's not a full-on jump set, but he gets out there pretty quick. First thing, like I said, you see the rotation of Carter Smith at left tackle from where you see this 6'5" right here, and then starts to throw that hand and completely opens up. So once again, inside move is going to be there, but then comes back with this left hook, boom, back in. But got to be careful because this defensive end's working upfield. If you get a little bit better bend there, he might be able to get back to the quarterback. But good job here by Smith kind of riding him out and upfield. All right, and then last one right here, I wanted to talk about Ajani. And this isn't exactly necessarily a jump set. It's just where the defensive end is. And he had limited true pass pro reps in the college football playoffs, but he's going to go one out. And this is the problem with any type of jump set or anything quick. When you try to throw two hands, throws both hands, and you're going to get, guess what? A double hand swipe back around, swipes both of them, and this defensive end's able to get through, fit back inside, and Johnny's trying to ride him out, but he's able to bend back vertical, and then boom, get forward on Mendoza and take him down for a sack. So this is something to watch with Johnny. His feet they move a lot better than really Benson's feet do, but I think his punch is something to look at because he leans on his punch and he also always kind of throws two hands. So I'm working with him on independent hands this week if I am this Indiana offensive line coach. Now here's the problem with jump setting. They might turn around and run a stunt on you. And so you got to be careful. So if you watch, this was the right tackle that's doing a lot of jump setting for Ole Miss. So watch him. He's going to go kind of slow, and what you get is a TE. So a TE is a tackle end twist. So the tackle goes first, and he's the pick man. He's trying to rush upfield. He's trying to take the guard with him, but he's trying to pick off the tackle, and then you're going to get the defensive end looping back inside. So that's something you got to be ready for, because if you do try to jump set, they might hit you back with this. So there's a counter for everything, guys. This is going to be a cat and mouse game. It's going to be fun to watch, but they are going to run these stunts. And let's talk about why it's so difficult to face these type of stunts, because they are just locked. So I'm locked on this man, I'm locked on this man. So here's the thing. If I'm this guard and Bane is looping inside, I can't get off on Bane and post down until I feel my tackle. So he doesn't feel him. He doesn't feel him. I still don't feel my tackle knocking me off. This tackle has to turn, knock him off, and then the guard can get off. It's kind of a domino effect. So the guard still doesn't feel him, and he doesn't know. He doesn't know that this is a stunt until Bane is right here. That's why stunts are so difficult, because it's your responsibility to block this man until you're told you're not to. So this tackle needs to be a lot quicker with that one. Now, something else you'll see. This starts to get kind of scary. You get Bane and Mesidor on one side together, and once again, you're going to get a stunt. Now you get cleaned up. You get some help from your offensive line, but let's talk about how this stunt was run. So here we go. You're going to get the same thing. You're going to get, you're here. Now, Mesidor is going to be the penetrator. He's the T on the E. Here we go, T-E, loop around. So he gets vertical, and why they're so good at this is because they work upfield. They threaten these tackles. So once again, guess what has to happen? This tackle has to knock this guard off to then get off. But what happens is the guard gets fully into this thing, and by the time Bane loops back around, there was no way that this guard is getting off. Now, this is where your other offensive line has to help you out. They don't get anything on the other side. Guess what? They both turn and they say, hey, let's go help out the other side. Bow, clean this thing up. You're going to need that from this offensive line for Indiana. They are smart, but they're going to have to be physical and help out their other offensive linemen because these stunts can be pretty vicious with how much speed and how much they threaten you upfield, and then boom, I am looping back inside. All right, and then I just wanted to grab one clip here, very similar. Here's the left side of the Indiana offensive line working, same thing, against a T, and you're going to get an E loop inside. So watch this, same thing. Guard gets really engaged to the Oregon defensive tackle, and then we're looping this back inside. And this is not an awful job. This isn't too bad. It's a little late, and he's able to get in the passing lanes. But guess what? All you need is a little bit of time for Fernando Mendoza, and he delivers this thing. So the biggest thing is you got to set vertical, and this guard has to pass this guy off to the tackle. The tackle's got to say, get off, and allow the guard to then post back down and meet this defensive end that's looping back around. So not the greatest rep, but it'll do, especially when you got 15 back there at quarterback. All right, let's finish this thing off talking about how the Indiana offense can scheme to slow down these guys. Not just the offensive tackles. We talked all the technique stuff. How can you slow them down? Well, you can give double teams. So first thing we're going to do over here on Bane is we're going to give a tight end chip. And he's just going to sidestep, and he is going to club, swim over the top, and then guess what? He's going to line up the right tackle. You want some too? Ready? Outside fake, club, swim over the top, and he's still pressuring Sand. So even if you get help, sometimes it might still get home. And they're doing the same thing. They get a double on Bane, and then they're over here on Mesidor, and you're going to get a slide from the guard. He does a really nice inside move, club, swim over top, and then you get your guard to come kind of spear him in the rib cage. You're going to need help on these guys, though, for sure. And then same exact thing here. You get some help for your right tackle. So you're going to get 4 right here. Is going to say, hey, I'm going to give you a nice chip on Mesidor, just kind of slow down his rush, and then I'm going to let you have it, try to get after it. Mesidor still does maybe one of the smoothest double hand swipes I've seen, and then bends the edge. Like I said, you're going to see that one all day long. And then you get something similar out here on on Bane, same thing. He's going to club swim, and the running back is going to come in, help shore that up a little bit, and that allows Chambliss to get rid of the football. And then here's another way to slow him down. If you just get a 4-man rush, someone's in the slide side, you need to just play a hit. And I'm all in favor on this. I'm a former offensive lineman. If you were uncovered, meaning the guard has no one on him, he's in the slide side, the B gap is his side, center's taken up, I'm looking out and I see a fresh rib cage right here, and you got to go attack it. Bow! You got to lay hits on them. Make them not want to rush if you're Indiana. That's the only way you stop them. You got to try to demoralize them any chance you get. You're not going to get many of these opportunities. So if you're Pat Coogan, you better go lay a lick on the defensive end. And then last one right here. This is something I just want to talk about. Bane working on the edge. And once again, we are in the slide. Let's talk about this right guard right here, Van Sickle. So he's in the slide. He has the B gap. He sees that Bane is working completely upfield around. As soon as we get to this point where Bane is clearly rushing the edge, I need you to pop. This is what we call pop. So instead of just being right here in the B gap, I need you to pop around the tackle and know that Bane is going to work over top and meet him over top. That's how you help out. This offensive line for Indiana is going to have to work in unison. They can't just stand around. If there is only 3 rushers on this one, I need you to help your guy. Make sure that Bane isn't going to work this inside move and be there. But once he fully declares over top, pop around and stop this thing. It is going to be all hands on deck for this Indiana offensive line to slow down these defensive ends.